Hello, good humans. Please find your seats in a gracious way. So happy that you're all here. What a lovely occasion. What a good idea. What a good idea. Thank you for coming. How are you all feeling? Tired? Yeah. I think the only acceptable social response to that is something like, woo! Or like, yeah! Like, just, how are you feeling? It's not a real question. But I hope you're feeling well. My name is Brandon. I am one of the events coordinators, event hosts here at Massy Arts Society. For how many of you is this your first kind of Massy Arts experience? Okay, cool. Nice. For those who don't know and for those who do, Massy Arts Society is an Indigenous-led space. We are also obviously an art gallery. Generally, we are a literary event space. We host, between 3 to 5 literary events a week in our busiest periods. And so we like to prioritize the writing, the thinking, the organization, and the communal fortitude of over-excluded artists. So that could be folks who are over-excluded for reasons of race or gender or sexuality, any number of intersections of beauty and oppression. We like to welcome, just over-excluded, racialized artists into the space to do things like this. And as an Indigenous-led space, the act of iterating towards decolonial, anti-colonial action is like one thing that we hold in high priority. And so as a space that welcomes so many stories, so many poems, I like to think about it as a space that is trying to welcome stories that interrupt the colonial story that is being imposed upon this land at any given time. And so, of course, it bears mentioning that this space exists on the unceded, stolen, unsurrendered territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. And so as we, gather for the sake of sharing stories, I would invite us all to think about the ways that we can interrupt the colonial story that is Canada, that is Vancouver. And now, the awkward transition where I say that this event is funded by the government of Canada. Yay! Poetry and mixed feelings, they go together so well. But we are grateful to have money to be able to do things like this. But I guess it increases our responsibility then to act in decolonial ways otherwise. With all of that said, there's not that much to know except that you're in the right place, doing the right thing. Thank you all for masking up. There's a washroom right here. Most of the authors that you'll see today have books for sale at the back. I'll be there to sell you books. We also have water at the back, which I'm sure you'll need. I can also sell you like bubbly carbonated water if you're a fancy person, or wine if that's the kind of day it is for you, or beer. I can tell you all those things. And there'll be time for like chit chat and book signing and all these things toward the end. That's all for me. I would like to invite our first reader to the stage.
Hey, I'm Britt from McGillivray, and I am going to start with a poem and then move into nonfiction. Before I get started, I just want to thank Massy Books. You're hands down my favorite place in the entire city. I think like 25% of any paycheck I've had has gone straight to Massy. So thank you, Jackie, Patricia, Brandon, Dax, and Nevin. I also want to thank Jane and Adèle. They say not to meet your... Are we good? They say not to meet your idols, but I say if they're poets, you should meet your idols, befriend them, and then force them to read with you. So thank you for being here. This is a poem that now lives in Room Magazine 44.4 for any Room subscribers, and it's called Memory Lane. For a moment, let's swallow questions. Think of a highway, our car, red and shitty. Think about driving with me the way we felt born and beautiful in the rear view, as hair becomes tendrils and bodies unfurling. And are you feeling something yet? Don't answer that. Find a memory along the road. Columbia River is mostly a memory. Its remains just reachable off the 84. The best strip of interstate stripped back to footpath. The father of our modern highway having lost custody. Maybe each empire has its collapse built into it. Maybe we were never meant to merge skin. Still, I'd like to see us through the season where our friends became lighthouses, all shuttered in. I'd like to see you again, entertain the curve of the lips or the fork in your tongue when you say we shouldn't return to where we've been. Maybe we both know that's not going to happen, but that leaves a lot happening, weaving in and out of what we're told is now history. And what I'm saying is, even sprawl gives itself back to its origins, that we can lay down in the marrow where the shoreline was, hand a quick hush and never mind to the cold freeze, and spare ourselves one more unprecedented. Humor me. Not kissing is boring, even historic not kissing. Not loving is worse, but the loss has survival woven in. Would I be predictable to show up in this red while you're still on the line? To ask you to leave your many hair ties home, your any and all new loves. Yes, but we're living in glimpses now. I promise this will only take a minute, long enough to not know we're beelining for disaster, short enough to feel good and brilliant. I'll be driving past the limit, one hand on your thigh, and we'll be gunning for the shoulder season, but aren't its weeds kind of lovely? Wait, don't answer that. Just for a moment, let's only be driving. So I was torn between reading something horny and something sad, and then I remembered who I am, which is a gay Pisces, and I realized that it's all a little horny and sad. So this is part of a memoir, Yarrow, and it deals with themes of interpersonal abuse. But at the beginning, things are quite rosy, so there's no content warning for anything in scene. But I'm just telling you this so that you're not jealous of me, because it doesn't stay so nice. It's not that my upbringing was marked by homophobia per se, but it was marked by an oppressive normativity, as suburban an upbringing as one can have in a city. Once, driving with my mom and aunt up Dunbar Street through a West Side neighborhood I'd grown to understand was reserved for newlyweds and nearly deads, we passed two women shuffling down the sidewalk hand in hand. Middle-aged, both short-haired and decked out in the type of pale gray and green hiking clothes you buy at MEC. There was nothing particularly eye-catching about the pair. But as we breezed by, my aunt turns to my mom and says, "It's kind of like seeing two hippos in the wild, eh?" No kidding. I don't know if I put two and two together then, but something in me must have known that to be gay was to be off-script at best. At worst, it was to be a startling animal in the wrong habitat, something worth taking the heel off the gas for to leer at, or perhaps even hunt. Now, deep in love with a woman, I could care less what the residents of Dunbar think. I tell my love this story, and they respond that we should go make out on every street and against every building where I ever felt closeted. My old house, my high school, the community centre where I was forced into my unfortunate hobbies, karate and Highland dance. Because it's Vancouver, half of those buildings have been torn down, replaced by the same homogeneous, glassy condos. But I appreciate the sentiment, love them that much more for it. Not that more seems possible. I am reeling in love. Lynn and I started as friends, serendipitously meeting on Orcas Island at a writing retreat. I befriended both them and their partner, Cal, an aggressively quiet boy with a penchant for magic tricks and agreeing to everything. Enamored by what I perceived to be their sweet dynamic and our shared taste in music, I invited them both to stay in Roberts Creek, a hippie town on the Sunshine Coast where my relatives have property. On the ferry ride up, I am pleased that we brought notebooks. Lynn adds watercolor pens to the mix, and we spend the crossing painting blind contours of each other's faces, laughing at the results. When I casually slip into conversation that I'm queer, a litmus test or batting practice, Lynn yelps in excitement, "Same!" Later that evening, we all drink our body weight by the fire, chucking rocks into the indigo sea. Everything is ignited. Everything is blurring. The stars vibrant away from the city, the sparks ricocheting off the fire as I chaotically layer on more resinous branches. Occasionally, when Lynn turns towards the light to grab the bottle of R&R we are passing between us, a floating ember lines up with their cheeks, suspended in front of their constellation of freckles. Maybe it's the whiskey or the ferry ride, but my calves feel weak. "How long have you been queer?" Lynn asks, interrupting Cal's soft commentary on the music, their direct stare hard to place. The conversation had been meandering and light, a cascade of musings and giggles, and by contrast, Lynn's directness feels harsh, like a challenge. "Well, always," I say, which is true. "You hide it well," they reply, scanning me, though I'm not sure for what. They twist a strand of my hair, admittedly long and blonde, and I feel the sudden urge to let them know I'm not trying to look straight. I'm not trying to do much of anything. When their hand passes my cheek, I can't help but blush. "You should get bangs." Lynn suggests we skinny dip. Though my threshold for cold puts my Pisces placements to shame, I am game. Cal stays back, verging on incoherence, having chugged down more whiskey than the two of us. I feel a placeless guilt as he comes silhouetted behind us, stoking the fire. Lynn notices my glance. "Don't worry about him. He always drinks like this." When we dive in, we realize the water is phosphorescent. Each stroke and splash sends light ricocheting through the ripples. We howl with delight, in awe of our luck. Over and over, we dip under the water, naked and ecstatic. It all blurs. The whiskey churning within us, the sea as starry as the sky, the way Lynn and I keep staring at each other's bodies, the squeals as we dive back under the surface, the light, the stars in our eyes, the fire flickering on the shore, the stars in the sky, the stars in the sea, my body, their body, the sea crashing, the crack of the fire, the break of the waves, the light our bodies are emitting, each movement launching fireworks, the sky, the sea in the sky, the way their body keeps squaring to mine. "This is one of those moments," Lynn says finally, as we balance on barnacled rocks in the dark sea. We hold hands there in the Pacific, wordlessly watching ourselves emit light, each and every movement cascading past us, our shared figure outlined by a yellow-green bowl glow. We stay there until our fingers croon and I can no longer tell where my hand ends and theirs begins. Nothing happens in the beach house that night, but Cal passes out on the camper mat downstairs, leaving Lynn and I to the loft bed a level up. I lay there, rigid as a board, desperately wanting some acknowledgement that the magic I'm feeling is real. Lynn suggests we hotbox a duvet, and so we do, creating a fort out of the covers and passing their pen back and forth until we go weightless. I drift in a slow state between sleep and wake, as weightless as I was in the Pacific, as the knowledge that Lynn is beside me keeps jolting me back awake. We breathe into the silence. Through my high, I feel we've checkmated one another, each urging the other to move first. I don't know who breaks our stillness. All I know is that finally our pinkies brush, then move. We start tracing the perimeter of each other's bodies, feather light, up and down the thighs, counting one another's ribs, up the arms to the shoulders, around the lips. For hours, saying very little, we trace, our lips thrust apart. Neither of us dares fall off the precipice of the moment. Never have I felt more sure of my body, its hard outline, the space where I end and cease to be touched. If we slept, we fell asleep like that, lips against one another, but never tripping into a kiss. Months later, neither of us could recall if we managed to move through the excitement long enough to dream. Do you want me to introduce, or do you want to come up?
I think I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm on it.
Okay, well next we have Adèle Barclay. Adèle is one of my favorite poets in the world, who I feel lucky enough to have learned from many years ago through the Room Festival, and since then it's just been such a pleasure to continue learning from you and also to be inspired by you across genre. So I'll let you add me 5 notes you want, but welcome Adèle.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for coming, everyone. What a gift to be here this evening. Thank you, Britt, for that gorgeous and sad Piscean reverie. And thank you for inviting me here. I love hanging out with the poets who write creative nonfiction. Jane, I'm really looking forward to your reading. So yeah, I'll kick it off with a poem that was requested. This poem is from the Daddy issue of CD2 magazine. Which Britt is also in, I really wanted to write a sexy poem for this theme, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Instead, I wrote a poem that's basically about what it's like to have a father who makes Jack Nicholson's character in The Shining seem really calm, cool, and collected. Ugh, you're right. It's called Will the Forest Make My Father Happy? Will the forest make my father happy? Will the trees, the lake, the creek, the frogs, fish, and reeds, the island of rocks, will the dragonflies make him sing? What if I run through the trees, over ferns, roots, and stumps? What if I hike up that hill to get a better view? What if I climb the cliffs as sand shakes loose in my grip? What if the cliffs are so high he can't see me down? Will the cold water stop him with its sharp waves? Will the shore take his rage? What if he bellows my name? What if I get in a boat, take the oar, and row? Will the choppy water save me? What if he jumps in the cove? What if he drowns in the bay? What if I throw him a life jacket and pull him on board? What if he roars like a motor and sinks the boat? What if I toss him out and paddle away? What if he makes it to the point with the scraggly spruce? What if he crawls onto the land while he storms? What if he gets locked in his car and I have the keys? What if he's trapped in the cabin with the broken screen door? What if there's no telephone? What if there's no matches, no ice in the icebox? Will the forest feed my father's flames? What if he burns the trees and the shore? What if I stay in the water? What if I swim to a raft? What if he burns the forest and eats the ash, sets himself on fire? What if I watch from my raft? Will the fire bring him peace? Will all the burning brush, the fawns, sparrows, coyotes caught in the crosshairs give him ease? What if I bury the bodies under the still house, roast marshmallows made from his bones, and singe them gold? What if I sing the songs he sang on his steel-string guitar? What if I say sorry to the butterflies, the nest of robins and hive of bees? Will the forest make my father happy? Will the trees, the lake, the fish, the reeds? And for my next piece, I'm going to read an excerpt of an essay. It's part of a larger project I've been working on for the past, I started writing it 2 summers ago, so almost two years now. It's called Black Cherry, and it's a lyric memoir about queer coming of age and grief, and the loss of my sister, Elissa. So this is one of the newer pieces that I've worked on just in the last month or so. So I thought I'd read that because I've got, fresh essay energy. And it's called Under a Man-Made Lake. I learned to drown in a man-made lake because water is safer than land. At 3, I'm willing to throw my lot in with the minnows in a glorified pond next to a community center. Moms on the shore chatting with neighbors. My older sister Elissa's 10 and in a splash war fighting off a battalion of kids, her gangly arms like torpedoes. Meanwhile, I decide to quit the shallows where the other toddlers wade and piss. Gently, I bob further out until my big toe searches for sand it can no longer reach. I don't shout. I'm busy getting ready to breathe in waves. When I go under, the lake holds me, and I'm not afraid. For a brief period of a couple of weeks, a woman with short gray hair takes me and my sister to the park with the lake. She feeds us snacks of apples and cheese and a brand of small crackers I'm not used to. When she's around, I feel like somebody sturdy is in charge. I march into the booster seat in the back of her car and strap myself in, trusting she won't yell or threaten to drive off the highway and crash the car. I drop crumbs in her back seat. In my memory, she's British, like an inverse Mary Poppins. Her startling magic isn't whimsy so much as even-keeled responsibility. I don't want a spoonful of sugar, I want the medicine, an earth that won't rumble. I don't know where my parents have gone, but it's likely they're in Ontario for my grandfather's funeral that they never tell us about. Never mind them, I've got Jane or Judy Andrews, or whatever her name is, with fresh snacks and a calm demeanor that helps me stop shitting my pants. Elissa and her friend Dana's cacophonic tween laughter ricochets off bungalow walls. They're crafting a joke that's got them in stitches. My worst nightmare is getting lost in a hardware store with my dad. No. My worst nightmare is having to fix a toilet with my dad. They erupt into cackles. I consider the bit and cut out the flab. I crawl into Dad's lap to cuddle and nuzzle into the chest of his thinning golf shirt with the branded chemical company logo he gets for free from work. I look up and announce, Cherub Sweet, you're my worst nightmare. I couldn't have shocked his hair any whiter. In the park by the reservoir, a children's television show, The Lunar Landing, anyone remember that one? Is filming an episode. A PA approaches my parents and asks if I'd like to be an extra in the scene. The show airs on CBC. Suddenly starstruck, I avert my eyes and stare at the dents and ripples of small sand dunes that fill the playground. The adults take my hiding behind my parents' legs as no. Afterward, I regret shying away from what could have been my big break, and also my chance to hop into one of their hot air balloons and sail away into a big prairie sky. Elissa and I eat at our next-door neighbors, the Johnsons, several times a week for lunch, dinner, and snacks. We run through their yard, kitchen, living room, bedrooms like the house is our own. I don't know how the Johnsons manage to regularly feed an extra 2 kids on top of their own 3, but they're deeply Christian. God shows up to every meal too. In her minivan, Mrs. Johnson ushers me and Elissa alongside her children to youth group picnics and fields where we eat blueberry crumbles and brownies, uncertainly mouth along to upbeat church songs I'd never heard before, and watch kids scream knock-knock jokes into prairie dog holes. We visit Dana's family for a birthday party after they move away. There's off-brand soda and rippled sour cream and onion chips in wide plastic bowls. On the back porch, a pack of cards shuffles out a game of crazy eights to a gaggle of kids, and I catch Elissa whispering into Dana's ear. I wince with the threat of humiliation. I'm not worried that I'm being left out, but rather that I might be betrayed. I tug on Elissa's t-shirt and whisper concerned, "Are you telling the secret about the babysitter?" Heather's a year younger than me. When we go to the park, she shits and pisses in the sand. She exposes herself while singing theatrical numbers about her fanny and butt with the verve of the vaudeville frog from the Bugs Bunny show. Her mother just shakes her head and shrugs her shoulders and calls out, "Heather, that's enough." I'm quick to evade rising worm puddles as they threaten the foundation of our sandcastle. Mr. Johnson calls me Shirley Temple because I have natural ringlets and I'm always telling stories. The nickname makes me feel special, like I've got a unique skill or personality worth noticing. I don't know how to tap dance, but apparently I've got the charm of a Depression-era showbiz princess. I smile and tell people about my day, and the neighbors greet me with warm cheer and applause and nods as rewarding as lollipops, all aboard the good ship. I want to tell Mr. Johnson every and any story I can muster. Mostly, I keep chattering at him on the back porch so I can stay at their house. The regular babysitter is a teenage boy who plays Candyland with me. On the couch, I crawl into his lap between drawing colored cards that direct my plastic gingerbread through gumdrop mountains and the molasses swamp. When I straddle his belly, it rumbles with a laughter that makes me dizzy. My father jokes the Johnsons are the super do-gooder Flanders to our slovenly Simpsons. At first, we're not allowed to watch The Simpsons because it's too adult and obscene, but then our parents cave. Mom's hair's as curly and tall as Marge's, and Dad burps and throttles his eldest child, just like Homer. Without warning, I wake to find my mother's gone one morning. The grandfather or grandmother who raised her in Morocco is dead or dying. Mrs. Johnson from next door drops off big Ziploc bags of shake-and-bake chicken that my father scoffs at. Shake-and-bake is crap, according to my parents, but puts in the oven nonetheless. He breaks off pieces of Kit Kat bars to bribe me and my sister to eat burnt grilled cheese, cans of Campbell's soup, and smelly tins of sardines. He has other tactics too. I hide behind a wall and my eyes crawl around the corner to watch while my 10-year-old sister wails. The air is humid from our tears. After 3 months or so, my mother returns. For years, every time I leave a room, I need to scream goodbye to everyone in it at least 5 times. My parents tease that Jordan is my boyfriend because we dance and play together, and Mom took a photo of us holding hands and kissing. I gift him a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle action figure for his 4th birthday that I would like to keep for myself. Apparently, I kiss all the little boys and girls from the daycare across the bike path. Whenever my parents lose track of me, they find me chatting up a kid who's crying because I've waltzed over and taken a sip of their chocolate milkshake. I try to befriend the minnows and burrow into the lake bed for a new place to sleep. I want to pull mud and detritus over me like sheets. If I can't go up in the sky with a balloon, I can go down to the lake muck. Under the surface, it's quiet and soft. Like my follow-along book on tape for The Little Mermaid, I'm a backwards Ariel. I've resolved to return to the water. In the opening song, the sea chorus calls on Ariel's half-dozen older sisters. One of them's named Adèle. I always rewind the tape to catch a whiff of this alternate fishy Adèle, who's at peace under the water with her warlord father. I want to swap kingdoms. I bargain I can give up my human trinkets from land, brightly colored bauble elastic hair ties that knot my hair, a dried out set of magic markers I inherited from Elissa, a toy truck I love, and trade it all in for the arms of a lake. And next up, we have Jane reading from her new memoir, Meet Me Tonight in Atlantic City. Welcome, Jane.
Hi everyone. Hi. Yay. I'm so happy to be here. Too many thanks to give, but extra big thanks to Britt, who kind of made this happen. So can we get an extra Also, that essay. Thank you, Adèle. That was beautiful. I can't wait to read more of this. Is it like a lyric essay? Oh my goodness. And of course, Massy, I feel really special every single time I come here. I was actually here for my last book, so it feels kind of I'm going to keep coming back. So if you'll have me, I'm here.
Welcome back.
Yeah. And yeah, I think I'm just going to kind of follow the poetry, nonfiction thing. What is genre anyway? Just collapse it. But before I read my poem, I'm going to ask you to kind of maybe participate in a way. The newest thing I've been working on is things that I make with my hands, whatever that may be. So I do ceramics right now, and I'm making paper. And so I don't know if people have little pieces of paper maybe in their purse or a bag, or you can just find or you can share with each other if other people want to maybe cut off a little bit. It has to be just a small piece of paper, so just rip the little corner out, and if you want to share with other folks, that'd be great. Yes. And if you have a pen, that's okay. If you don't, but if you do have one, or just want to share with other folks. Okay. This is not mandatory. You don't have to do this, but what I'm trying to say is that I think this was last year. A few friends of mine, we actually sent each other care packages in the mail. And in these care packages, we had little bits of paper, first drafts, little notes, almost like your grocery store shopping list, random ephemera. We also had seeds in these packets, care packages. So from their garden or the whole thing was meant to be kind of natural-ish materials. So we took all those pieces and then we each individually pulped them into a blender, and then I made paper, and then I wrote a new poem inspired by it. So what I would love for you all to do, if you're willing, is maybe to write a word or a line, or draw a picture, whatever you want to do, and I'll collect them at the very end of the reading, and I'm going to pulp it into paper, and then I'll write something for y'all. So, and I guess I'll do this on the internet. I don't know how else to share it with you, but yeah, okay. So maybe we have hopefully some different colors too. You can write on the back of receipts or something like that too. Okay, so if you want to just take a moment, maybe write a word or a line or draw a picture, I'll just give you a moment, and then I'll read you the poem that I wrote from the care packages. I'll collect them. I feel like a teacher now. Sorry. It's not homework, I promise. I do have a former student in the audience. Anyway, I'll say I'll collect these at the end, and I'm gonna put them in a blender, and I'll share with you what I write. So when I originally did this, I've been doing this a few times just cause. But when my friend sent me the care packages, and I pulped the paper, I was really obsessed with this idea of my mom's garden, and the care packages have seeds in them. I should say when I'm pulping this paper, I'm going to mix it with some seeds from my mom's garden that she seed saves, and so it will be plantable paper. So I probably will plant what you're going to give me as well, and we'll see what will grow. I've been thinking a lot about my mom growing up in the countryside, and so this poem is kind of like about kind of the garden space or growth and plants, but it's also speculative, so this takes place in the future. It's called In the Future We Held Each Other. In the future we held each other, like pea tendrils, trellised by breath and grief. And we kept holding, soupy sun spilling across our faces the morning after heartbreak, after rage so thick we needed to help each other cough the grit out. We poured vinegar on the grit and softened it and put it in a jar. We held onto our names, we called them back across so much migration and found characters barnacled in empty spaces. Our names were salty but delicious. Our ghosts found stockpiles of abandoned superglue, and we started to piece back teeth, limbs, languages, bowls, countries. My grandmother glued back her jade necklace and her pink sandals, and she stretched her anemone toes through the bands like a very good yawn. We gleamed in the holding and the softening, a bee's coat, patchworked with gilded lingering. We kissed and kissed and kissed, and then we opened the jar. And thanks for doing whatever will be happening. I'll try my best to find ways to share it. This is shockingly, I still can't believe it. I think this is my third book, which I'm like, I don't know. Also did not mean to match my book. That's like really kind of embarrassing. Oh my gosh. It's like pretty much exact. It's kind of embarrassing. Oh my god, no pictures. But this is a memoir, and as you can see, the theme of the night, poets writing nonfiction, blurring the lines of genre. Someone recently asked me, this came out this past May, so I think it's about 2 months out. It's called Meet Me Tonight in Atlantic City. Someone recently asked me, was like, what is this book about? And I was like, oh, the dreaded question, like, what do you write about? What is this book about? So many things. I feel like if I were to kind of like do a little, I don't know, rundown of what's in it. My father was a gambler and gambled our restaurant away. I grew up in a Chinese American takeout restaurant. I feel very much like, I think I heard like some Cantonese earlier, just like out the door, because we were from the, and I was like, yes, these sounds. So I'm a restaurant baby. It's a love song for my mom. It's also a love song to New York City's Chinatown, where we went to unlicensed dentists. It's a love song to the working class, low-income folks, immigrant babies. And it's also, I struggled with this when I was writing this book. It's not just child me or like younger self me. I really wanted like my current self to be in this book too, so there's a lot of toxic relationships in here. Certainly too, including when my ex basically sent me an invoice for my period stain on his mattress. This book is everything basically in one volume, because I don't think I have another memoir in me, let's be honest. But the section I want to read from tonight is actually kind of in the spirit of summer, I guess, which is mosquito season. I don't know about you all, but they come for me distinctly, and I just got bit just earlier today. It's so hot. And I'm just going to read a little section from this chapter called To Love a Mosquito. And I guess there's a kind of content warning about parental abandonment. My father is not in my life. He hasn't been in my life for, I don't know what is time these days, like 25 years or something. And so he also lives like really close to my brother in New Jersey. And so he's absent in my brother's life as well, though my brother tries to continually bridge that gap. And the scene I'm going to be reading a bit from will be kind of like my brother again, trying to bridge that gap. It's also about mosquitoes. And little brothers, because, siblings, so many feelings. Okay, this is called To Love a Mosquito. It doesn't count if you don't see blood, I say, holding my palm up to my little brother's face like a mirror. I show him the blood, a lipstick smear right in the middle smack. Half a wing dangles from my hand. If you squint hard enough, it looks like I'm shedding my own skin. Stephen nods because he's still young enough to agree to everything I say. We are 8 and 5. We agree to precision. We agree to be a team, climbing the fat arms of the sofa, perpetually spilling its cloud stuffing. We begin tracking the fluttering legs of another mosquito. In the humid horror of August, in the afternoon where boredom widens like a forbidden cave, Wing Ying Ying falls asleep and dreams of another shore and another life. When we're not at the restaurants where our mother chops endless heaps of yu choy, we like to play a game we call Mosquito Wars. Mosquito, a word we know well enough because of the buzzing pieces of shit that suck our blood. Wars, a word, plural, we are beginning to understand as it relates to our family, layer by fraught layer. A mosquito can only cover, on average, 1 to 1.5 miles in an hour. At this pace, it can't keep up with a butterfly, a bee, or a locust. The gluttonous ones are slower and easier to catch. They meander about, heavy with their blood-full luggage and sugary song. We know it's the hungry, crazy, skinny ones you have to watch out for. The crazy ones that fly all erratic like they're performing an experimental contemporary dance no one wants to watch. 22, more than yesterday, I announced with the observational matter-of-factness of a field researcher. I tally this up in our Mosquito Wars notebook, each pen mark like a thin mosquito leg. Suckers, Stephen says. He repeats this again, pleased by its double meaning. Suckers! Suckers! He screams this so loudly, the stray cat, who usually delivers us dead animal gifts at noon, runs away, a starling dangling in her mouth. It's summer on the Jersey Shore, and all day, every day, dozens of mosquitoes bite our arms, legs, feet, faces, and butts in order of terribleness. A bite on the butt is terrible because it's painful to sit with a bump like a pebble or a cough drop stuck in your back pocket, and no one wants to be seen itching their butt. Though a bite on the face is pretty bad too, especially if you get bit near the eye. Someone might think you have pink eye and are the type to go to cheap water parks where babies swim in their diapers. And what if you are? Also, with a bite near your eye, you'll also think about how close the mosquito came to your actual eyeball, how it could have sucked the softest thing by accident. And what if it did? You could have woken up with all your ice juice drained. No, I take it back. The face is definitely worse than the butt. I'm highly allergic, so my bites puff up like perfect profiteroles. The heat of the bite radiating like a dog panting in dry heat. Over weeks, the bites will turn hard like tree stumps. Then they will leave little scars, little reminders that you are a target. Then and now, the target of mosquitoes, bullies, racists, terrifying men. Later, when our father leaves us, it will be October, and the scars of our bites will be as faint as autumn leaf etchings. Was our game cruel? Was it so bad to want to seek revenge? This is our blood, I kept saying to myself. It belongs to us. This was different from the scenes on TV with kids burning ants with magnifying glasses and cataclysmic sun. Or at least I wanted to believe we were kinder than that. Once, one of my creative writing students wrote about how she put her goldfish in a peanut butter jar as a kid. Half peanut butter, half water, just to see what it would do. We were in week 1 of our nonfiction unit. During office hours, I asked her, "What is the emotional weight here?" I know. What did you glean from this later in life? Is this connected to another scene you haven't written yet? She shook her head and chewed at her hair. I don't know, and I'm scared that I don't know. I told her to write that down, and then I asked her if it was creamy or chunky peanut butter. To support the righteousness of our cruelty, we could tell ourselves whatever we wanted, like we needed to kill the mosquitoes in order to eradicate disease, or we needed to kill them to bond with each other. We needed to ruin the walls to be noticed by our parents. And what do we notice if we don't turn away? What courses through a family, slithering underneath the carpet like some other kind of undesirable insect, something worse than a mosquito? The gambling debts, the cheating, the hands raised, disappearing, everything we didn't know that led to all of this, half-lit knowledge, what scares a family into silence. My parents were at war with each other from the moment they were arranged to be married, and my brother and I inherited this war and witnessed cannons daily. My father accused my mother of cheating. My mother said he spent all her money at the strip club, and they hurled names at each other in Toisanese, words we didn't know but nonetheless held a guttural ache. My father held my mother's arms to stop her from screaming, and my mother packed her suitcase again and again, throwing silk and tulle and polyester everywhere. The little wars in our family, the little fires igniting around us like a garden of nightshade. What terrified me the most was when my parents stopped screaming. Silence, a dark field, I wouldn't dare to trespass. Days after our father left, my brother dug out his old dinosaur toys from a broken cardboard box, and he lined them up on the windowsill, a parade of vegetarians, a green brontosaurus and an orange stegosaurus, one after the other, in case he forgets which house is ours, because once or twice, my father shook a stegosaurus and my brother and smiled. How can I describe to you what it feels like to protect my brother from our father's refusal to be in our bloodline? In this one moment in time, my brother is 26, and he's been recording year after year of the NBA playoffs to watch with our father. He wants to visit him now, our father, but he wants me to come. They only live 20 minutes apart. The plan is to deliver the tapes and then set up a time next week to have some father-son time. You can stay in the car, my brother says. He knows I'll be too angry to leave the passenger seat. He knows to keep me strapped in my safety belt, or else I'll lunge. I drive my brother to our father's house. I'm sitting in his car watching them. It's been years, maybe 5, since they've seen each other, and it's been much longer since I've seen him, and I've lost count. My brother opens the screen door, and it squeaks, and my father is there, the door only half open. In my brother's hands, the old VHS tapes, the ribbons curled neatly inside like a bundle of fresh pasta. He knows our father only has a VHS player, and so he held onto our old clunky machine all those years. And my brother also knows our father loves basketball, and so he's been practicing his layups even though he's a hockey goalie. My brother holds the tapes out with his arms, smiling awkwardly, but our father shakes his head and puts his hands in his pocket, closing the door. He doesn't notice me in the car, and I swear they keep aging years and years and years ahead. The dead grass sways in the wind around them. My brother returns with the tapes hugged tightly to his chest. What happened? I don't want to talk about it. I ask again, and I remind him that we are a team. My brother puts his hands on the steering wheel and stretches them out as if to keep them from becoming fists. He turns to look at me, and for once I wish I'd turned away. His face, marveling at his own fear realized. His eyes flicker like silverfish. He said he was too busy. I can't describe to you my anger, and I can't describe what I wanted to do to that screen door and what I wanted to say to my father. I can't describe the vicious ventricles of my heart or the depths of revenge and devotion. I can see myself giving my writing student advice. Try, see where it goes, even if you fail. But I can't even take my own advice. Sometimes I'm at a loss, and sometimes I have to quit, sword down. I go on the internet trying to find idioms for blood relations in a Chinese family, and I find tiger father begets tiger son, like father, like son. I never liked the order of that. What if tiger son begets tiger father? I will spend my whole life wanting this, for my father to be more like my brother, the tender-hearted one, the team member, the dinosaur who quietly chomps on leaves, the trusty one who stays by your side even when he's deeply uncertain and afraid. Say it out loud with me. A tiger, a son, a tiger, a father. A tiger, a son, a tiger, a father. Thank y'all.